And here we are, you guys. Woo woo. It's Saturday. How many of you guys are at home today? Well, I am, and all of these lovely people are in their homes as well. Now, I have some extremely exciting news for all of you that have been on my YouTube channel. We have hit over 4,000 subscribers. So this is like
Woo!
huge. Woo! It's like you take these little milestones. Like it used to be like the first 100, I was like super excited, and then the second 100, I was super excited, and then it moved to like 500s, and now it's like, oh my gosh, we're at like 4,000. That is incredible. I love it. So thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for continuing to support us. Thank you for watching the commercials. Those of you that know, all of the proceeds from my YouTube channel do not go directly into my pocket. They go directly into my children's pocket. No. Actually, they're gonna. I have three children that will be going to college. They are going
Right, I'm
directly into.
unsubscribing. That's it.
They're going directly into my kids' education and going into their college funds. So I do appreciate you guys taking the time to be able to do that. As you know, I don't get paid to do any of this stuff that's here. This is all me volunteering to be able to do it, and I appreciate you guys that are joining us, Atul and Leo and Susie and Beth, for being here as well. Lots of things that we add. We were just actually having an amazing conversation about how the whole online tutoring world is just changing right now. People's perceptions are changing about online tutoring. How those of us that have been in the online tutoring world were a little bit ahead of their curve at this point in time, right? Compared to other people. I do feel like people's mindsets are going to be more open to being able do online tutoring, and that's a really exciting thing. And I know that recently, with some things that have been going on with Bitpaper, some of you guys have all of a sudden just like kind of felt like, oh, like what just happened? Like it was like a bomb dropped on you. And so I thought, you know what? Let's invite Leo and Susie and Atul into the house so they can explain like what's going on, and then give us more information. And there have been some changes that have been made. So they're listening. And this is something that I've always appreciated about Bitpaper. They always listen. So, Atul and I were also talking about like right before this how he never actually even used a whiteboard before this, that he actually would use like paper boards just to be able to like share his screen and doing this, and then Bitpaper changed. So what was your experience with Bitpaper when you first started experiencing Bitpaper, Ato? What was it for you?
Yeah, just to go back, I really like the idea of keeping the tech really, really simple. And for me, like pen and paper was a thing I'd always done. I was very comfortable with it. And this is just a tip to all the new online tutors who've suddenly had to go into it. Like, don't abruptly go into lots and lots of different moving parts and technology. If pen and paper is something you're comfortable with, just start off with that and just get online somehow. And then gradually get into using more technology, including Bitpaper or any other whiteboard. But yeah, I was quite reluctant to go onto any whiteboard. I was had to be kind of brought to it, kicking and screaming. In fact, I was like, it came to a stage when other tutors said, "What are you doing at all?" Like other online tutors, I said, "All right, I'll try some whiteboards." So I tried a bunch of different ones, and there was this chap on various Facebook groups called Don Berry, who's a Bitpaper. He kept posting bitpaper.io, and I tried it once, and what a beautiful experience. Like you write on it, you only had the 5 or 6 colors, and no matter how you wrote on it, it just looked beautiful. Like it had this kind of very nice texture. You could change the colors, and I fell in love with it immediately. And the rest is history. I like never tutored in paper again. And so I became the super fan, and then Leo, I met Leo like the first time Leo popped up. It was like, "Are you the Bitpaper guy? You the guy who runs Bitpaper?" Like, I was like, it's fun. And then after a while, Leo just invited, just work for Bitpaper, just help us with social media because you're doing it anyway.
Yeah,
And that's that. Yeah, the rest is history, really. So I've been a part of them ever since. Yeah.
oh, I love it. And we've got some awesome people joining us today. We've got Lynn Wilson, and we've got Simplify IT Tutoring, and we've got Kim in the house. And so Kathy is here. So glad that you guys are here. Please introduce who you are, where you're from, what you tutor. We want to be able to welcome you. And as we go, if you have any questions, please let us know. Yes, Beth.
Um, we also in Facebook we have Rita and Lauren and let's see, Ramona and Jamie and Dina. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
and Tammy Ordonez. Yay! So thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate you guys being here. All right, so Leo, tell us about your ultimate idea with Bitpaper from the beginning. Like, what was your goal with Bitpaper?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone, and thanks for having taking the time to listen to us and hear us out. Because believe us, we're listening to you. We're keeping a very close tab on all developments. We've barely slept in weeks, is the reality, and I know it's been a very tough period for everyone. I'm not claiming it's any more or less tough for us than anyone else. But, I wish everyone well, and these are difficult times. As Joanna kind of alluded to, I think to some extent, there's short-term pain for sure for everyone in a number of facets and capacities and professions. Online tutors have a degree of insulation by definition, in some sense, in an isolated world. And tutoring seems to be a little bit more stable than, say, acting or television production or all of the industries that have shut down. We can't be under any illusions that there's waves of job cuts coming and the worst recession of all time is upon us. There's no doubt. But within that, the silver lining is online tutoring is in the spotlight. I've been phoned up by national papers. We were in The Guardian yesterday talking about Bitpaper. The British government are talking about hiring thousands of online tutors today to try and make up for the teaching shortfall. Online tutoring was a fringe was a fringe endeavor when we first started. So my personal journey, I've said this before and on these channels before, and me and Joanna have grown up together in our own professional capacity. She's an influencer and I'm a tech developer, and we've always supported and loved each other's channels. And I still think your videos are the most viewed Bitpaper videos by a mile. I'm deeply grateful for the exposure and the audience you've given to us. So thank you from me personally to you, Joanna. We haven't spoken in a little while, but we always touch base from time to time, and I hope our relationship will evolve. My own capacity was as a university lecturer. Originally, I did my PhD in London, Imperial College. I sort of decided to have a go at banking and really didn't get on with that at all. It didn't suit me. Roughly, I'm probably too creative and not disciplined enough to be a sort of a big corporate guy. So I decided to fall back on my teaching, which had always been, like I suspect for so many of you, a hobby turned vocation. I taught and tutored through the years through school to pay my way, through university, and latterly I was doing some sort of TAing at university. Went to my university and said I want to do some lecturing now, and they gave me a gig. So as part of that, I got involved in tutoring because a lot of students in my classes were coming to me with these kind of very individual and specific problems which I didn't have the capacity or resources to address. They were quite fixable. I can't differentiate. I can't integrate. I missed the class on bod maths. Whatever it might have been. The problems they highlighted were entirely solvable and in quite a quick period of time if I could have lended them the time, which I couldn't because there was 200 of them and there was one of me. So we set up a tutoring company called The Profs in 2014. My brother was a professional tutor also, same thing. He paid his way through school and college tutoring. And we decided to kind of have a go at trying to release tutoring to university students, which was a bit of an innovation, I think, at the time in the UK. And in that journey, it became clear to me very quickly that our scope and reach needed to be outside of one-to-one tutoring in London and university students in London. We needed a wider audience. And so the only way we could project ourselves, over longer distances, and in some sense, actually, my main concern, as well as sort of scope and scale to my own business, was actually my ability to scale my time effectively as an educator. I wasn't willing. I was running a business. I was not willing to travel to meet people. If they weren't willing to come to me, I wasn't willing to tutor them. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the resources to scale that, and the loss in effective earnings was too dramatic. Mm-hmm. So in 2014, when my brother first came to me and said, "Hey, I've got a client for you. He's in, I think it was Dubai or something. I can't remember." He said to me, "I've got this guy who wants finance tutoring and we can't find anyone. Can you do it?" And I said, "Okay, how?" He said, "People are using Skype." And I said, "Okay, fine." So got on Skype and like you guys, was like, "Okay, well, here's the lecture notes and, I can't really write. So can you write and I'll explain?" And I was like, no, this doesn't work. We need a pen. We need a writing surface, a whiteboard. And we need good internet and audio, video, and screen sharing and headsets. I'm going to lay claim to this, and if anyone can prove otherwise, please feel free to do so. I strongly believe me and my best friend Dan, who basically designed Bitpaper for me, when I said, "Okay, where can we get a pen?" He said, "Let's do some research." We found out about these things called Wacom, which were at the time graphics tablets for artists. Then we said, okay, let's buy a couple. We bought a couple. We tried them. We're like, yep, that'll do. They're a bit quirky, but that'll do. Then we said, all right, whiteboard. We went around, looked at whiteboards. We were like, these will suck at the time, frankly. No offense to our competitors, but in 2014, all of your boards suck. They've come a long way, actually, dramatically. There are some really good ones now, and I fully appreciate that, and we keep an eye on those. And many of them have far bigger resources than we've ever had. So, we tried them out. Nope, that didn't work. We started using a program called Sketchbook, which was, again, an artist program for digital art. So we would use Skype. We would screen share onto the board. We even had these weird little plugins to Skype, which would really badly record the lessons. We would screen share onto the whiteboard. It wasn't onto the sketchboard. It wasn't collaborative. And then we would, we would record the classes and write one-sided. So then that got us thinking, and we thought, well, how do we take this a step further? How do we get students to write? And that's where Bitpaper came from as well. So we took all the things we were doing with Sketchbook, the simple things that you need to quickly and effectively operate. In order, this was the pen needed to be responsive, right? Laggy pens don't work. It needs to be really responsive. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to download anything effectively. We wanted the ability to have loads of maximum whiteboard space possible across the screen, right? And just whiteboard space effectively. We wanted a minimalist approach, which didn't have lots of Frankenstein uses for lots of different people. So that largely revolved around, just very simple tools, writing, shapes, pens, multiple boards was very important. And then latterly, we started thinking about the audio video capabilities. So, screen share, audio, video, screen sharing. So we mapped it all out, and we've got most of them. The only one we haven't got that we really want is session recording, which is in the pipeline. But the ability then to natively in Bitpaper record the sessions, which of course Zoom can do. So we want to take the best bits of Zoom. We also discovered Zoom, I think, for tutoring. Susie discovered Zoom, actually, my wife, who's on the call. Back in those days, Zoom was a completely unheard of thing. That when I first got our API account at one of my companies, we spoke, I think, pretty much to Eric directly. Eric's worth about 40 billion today or something. So Susie knows the CEO of Zoom personally, because we were one of the first, if not the first, adopters in a sensible education capacity. We said to him at the time, hey, Zoom was great for education. He said, not interested. It's not a relevant market for us. We're doing sort of big corps and big business. Now, of course, education is largely being conducted through Zoom. So we were ahead of that curve. So Bitpaper's story, began there. Susie went running around trying to find someone who could build a whiteboard tech. We worked with a few people initially. They were all charlatans, frankly. And eventually she found this guy through a contact who was just building whiteboards in his free time in Cyprus. That's Nick. To be completely open and honest with people, the entirety of Bitpaper has been built by one developer, the whole thing. Largely I designed it, and largely he built it. So, to get some idea of the, administrative capacity we've as a team to serve what is now several 100,000 user accounts, there's just, in terms of the development, two of us doing it. Susie helping on the administrative side, and the sort of more the sort of corporate investor relation side and business development side. She also built the website, designed and built the website, which is beautiful. And Atul, who's obviously come on board and helping on social media. So between the four of us, we've dealt with everything. And so the reality is in our development of Bitpaper, we always basically just wanted to build a whiteboard. Now, for me, the furthest behind part of Bitpaper in terms of development these days is the actual whiteboard. What I mean by that is, although it's invisible to everyone else, the true development costs of Bitpaper in time, resources, mental capacity, and intelligence in some sense has all gone into the server architecture. It's phenomenal. I mean, there are tens of servers running Bitpaper. Every single thing you do is on a different server that are all connected. There's image servers, there's the URL servers, there's cursor servers. The cursors actually, the day that Bitpaper wobbled, as some of you might remember, Bitpaper had a bad day one day, last Monday. That was because the cursor, we hadn't realized that 20,000 cursors would be a problem. Things that no one would think about. That crashed the server, and it took us hours to work out what crashed the server. It was people moving their cursors. But anyway, So we've spent huge amounts of time on the architecture behind, particularly the servers and scalability, and also the audio video. So, the actual whiteboard is what we want to spend our resources developing. We know the quirks and features. We know everything everyone wants. We've got it all there in the roadmap we just released, and we'd love to go back to that, and we will. But we've been constantly pulled out in some sense of making the whiteboard better because we've had to keep it stable and robust, and that's a real architectural challenge, far harder than the front end of the whiteboard, which is actually quite easy for a competent developer, relatively. So that's where Bitpaper came from. It came from a legitimate need for us to try and teach better online. We created it as a small group of individuals. We funded it out of our own pockets. Then, as you are all aware, something happened, and it was the coronavirus. We knew from about early 2018 that Bitpaper couldn't be free forever, because although people don't appreciate this, we've been paying for the audio video minutes for everyone at enterprise costs for a long period of time. And when that was a few $1,000s a month, we could afford it from our companies and tutoring companies and our pockets in some sense, and we've all worked for free, all of us, with the exception of Nick, who I've had to keep eating. So we knew from back then that we would have to charge eventually. That was a cold hard reality. We'd hoped that we could do it properly, message everyone in about June, maybe release it in September, have a bit more time to engage with the community about pricing points, pricing levels. But then came a large 5-figure bill for the audio video minutes at an increasing rate of about 50% a day. And, it got to about $4,000 or $5,000 a day this week, right? We are not Google. I cannot afford that. It has put the financial stability of my companies at risk, and it has put the existential, the existence of Bitpaper at risk. If we stop it, it's off, right? Mm-hmm. So we had to make a very hard decision very quickly as to what to do, and we figured the best thing to do was to try and serve the community that we could, right, or that wanted to pay and understood that they would need to pay, and serve their needs, and keep the thing on rather than just turn it off and everyone lose it. So it's been a difficult few days, and that's why we're here today. We're here to talk about these things and these changes, what they mean, what our ambitions are. In terms of your original question, and that was a very long-winded answer, the ultimate, the answer to the question is we want Bitpaper to be the de facto standard for how to teach online. That's what we want. We want schools to use it. We want universities to use it. We want enterprises to use it. We want it to be known as the thing you use to teach online, like Zoom has become in that time, in the same time period, the thing you use to talk online, right? Mm-hmm. We need to get there, and that's what we're here today to discuss, the roadmap towards that, what that means, and what that looks like, and under what conditions we change things or we adapt. That's Bitpaper's story.
That's awesome. And I think when we can personalize, like, where did this all start from, and where did it come from, it helps put everything in perspective for so many people, because people don't realize how much money and how much time you have devoted into putting into this resource. Some people there are lots of people who are very devoted to Bitpaper. And they want to continue to pay for the tool, and they are going to do it like Elaine Lingard. She said, "Hey, I love Bitpaper. I'm going to continue to use it." So you have super fans out there that they are going to follow you till kingdom come because of what you guys have put together, and that is incredible. And I think it's just them understanding too, like, hey, we understand this story, but then there are some new people. They're just discovering Bitpaper, right? And they don't know the entire backlog and a history of where you guys have come from, the sweat, the tears, how much money you have poured on into this, and have never asked for a cent from anybody to be able to continue to make it available to people. And so lots of people do have questions about really the future. I think there's people that are out there, they're wondering if this is ever going to, if Bitpaper's going to close. Is that something that is a possibility?
It was, definitely, 100%. I mean, look, I can't do that, right? I've devoted so much of my life, and the people on this call, my team, have devoted so much of their lives and love and energy to it. Under no circumstances, it's like a baby, right? So, no, Susie calls it, my wife calls it Bit Baby. That is her nickname for Bitpaper.
Yeah, I think it's important to point it out. Hello, I'm Susie, guys.
Hi, Susie.
Hello. I'm not just the wife, I'm also the business partner here, one of the co-founders of Bitpaper. But Leo is correct. This is very much a family business that we've built together in the last 5 years. Started from our bedrooms, to be honest. I try not to use that word because it's a little bit too used, but it was actually real. And there were a lot of laughs, but a lot of tears as well. You can imagine, as a family business, right? Everything was built with a lot of love as well. If you even go around the website, you can see hearts and emotions, and that is all about telling the world about the story of Bitpaper. So you can see on the design, right? That's how we try to bring it. And yeah, we do call it Bit Baby. And Atul and I had a very nice chat yesterday. It used to be Bit Baby, but now it's a teenager. Actually, he's about to go to college, and that's how we see the Bitpaper. Is just like 17 years old, is now going to college. It's becoming a little bit more like professionalized, and that is the very cool thing. We almost see Bitpaper as a person, right, Atul?
Yeah, and Elizabeth.
Sorry. I just wanted to bring in some questions from the Ultimate Support Group if this is a good time for everybody. Okay, great. 1 second. So the first question is from Terry Grigsby. She asks, can you explain the different pricing plans in detail? If I have 25 to 30 students that I send a PDF to after each session without video, which plan should I use?
Oops, you're on mute, Leo.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I just want, before we jump into like really specific price questions for individuals, because I'll be honest, that's not generally that interesting, and we can answer that with the individual. And I'm more than happy to answer Terry. We love Terry, love your work. More than happy to answer that and work with you on that. But in terms of the, I will give an answer to your question, Terry, but I'd rather just try and keep it a bit more high level initially. In terms of the motives behind what we've done, right? The reality is that people assume that because it's free, either it has no price or it has no value, right? And neither of those things are true. The pushback from our community on certain price points is a bit of a reality check for some people as to the realities of the cost of this platform and what that means for us. And to just put that in context to answer your question, Joanne, no, I'm not going to take it offline. But I had a very difficult week of conversations with the audio video provider about them not taking it offline, right? Some of this is outside of my control. I can keep Bitpapers online and the servers that we control online. I can't necessarily keep the audio video online, right? So we've had some very difficult conversations, and effectively they've given me a moratorium on the pricing of on the bill that would bankrupt the company that is looming. And basically agreed that, conditional on us commercializing effectively, that they would extend the deadlines on those bills until we're in a position to pay them ourselves, right? So that is we've been completely transparent and open in all of this. People can take it or leave it, but they are cold hard facts. And yes, I've had all kinds of things levied at me. I've had some really disgusting things emailed to me and said to me, which couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm not particularly concerned about those people's opinions per se, but the idea that we're using the coronavirus or something like that to try and profit is actually the other way around. Put it from our point of view, why should the fallout of the coronavirus in its entirety fall upon us to burden for everyone, right? So we want to distribute the crisis as far as we can, and that just means that we need to charge. So in terms of the actual high level, why is it priced? There's been charged. Some people. To be clear, there has been huge demand for Bitpaper that was unprecedented. We have had to, as a team, deal with over 200 business requests in 48 hours. That changes things a little bit. What we did in terms of where we set pricing, we took the costs, we divided by the total number of users that we thought might convert, and then split the cost between them, right? That was roughly how we did it. Building in the ability to pay our developer, pay the servers, pay for the audio video of those users, and ideally leave just a little bit left to try and grow the company. That was the idea of the pricing. Now, things change the more people sign up, because, you know, if anyone, for those new users that don't know us, and Joanne and a lot of the people on this call have followed the journey, so it's hard to, you know, levy at us that we're profiteering when it's been free for 5 years, because we could have just charged from day one if
Right.
profit was our driving force, right? That simply is empirically not true. In a perfect world, I would love Bitpaper to be free. That was the dream. That was the desire. I want mass adoption of Bitpaper over and above, you know, pounds, pence, dollars, and yen from the users to use it. But it's not the reality. Google can afford free whiteboards because Google makes all of their money. Zoom can afford a free product because they make all of their money from other things.
Right.
Zoom's business model is extremely simple. Zoom says, we charge companies and they pay loads of money. If anyone who's had an enterprise level account with Zoom, or an API or an integration with Zoom, which I have, knows that actually the audio video pricing on Zoom is more expensive than we have put on Bitpaper. I got a bit of a discount from the providers. But there's this disconnect between the individual who's used to free audio video. Zoom is free for an individual account. WhatsApp is free. There's all kinds of ways you can do video Skype for free. So people think, oh, video is free. But if you're a company who's bankrolling that, it's anything but free, and that's where the disconnect came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, still, in a social sense, the more people that sign up, the cheaper it is for everyone to use, right? And that goes for both Bitpapers and the audio video. Now, in the last 48 hours, we have had such high demand from enterprise level people and people who are in huge amounts of support saying, no, I like, and this is why we're here, because so many people have said, you know what, I'm in. And that's what we needed. But so many people have said that we can now readjust pricing. And that's what we can continually readjust pricing to find a nice equilibrium that suits as many use cases as possible, that gets people what they need, that keeps the thing online. And then there's no ongoing threat to the existence of Bitpaper. So that's what we're working towards. In terms of Terry's specific question, can you just run the numbers by me again, Elizabeth?
So you are on mute, Elizabeth.
Oh,
there we go.
Sorry. So she said, can you explain different pricing plans? If I have 25 to 30 students that I send a PDF to after each session without video, which plan should I use?
Yeah, so PDF. So we've just changed this as well. PDFs are free to create now for both accounts. Students can create all the PDFs they want. The tutors can create all the PDFs they want. So there's now no restrictions on PDF. They're free for everyone. So students, tutors, PDFs are unlimited now. And the same goes for saving to my papers. We realized that wasn't best considered for a number of reasons. Mainly, when we say save on Bitpaper, we're talking about putting it into my papers. All boards, if you've noticed, are auto-saved by default because the URL is permanent. So the student can just bookmark. So we've listened, but one very reasonable and sensible lady sent me an email saying, but why would you block saving papers for the student accounts when they can just bookmark it in the browser, which is what some of mine do anyway? And I said, yeah, fair play. So we've removed those restrictions. In terms of using 25 to 30 students, there's no restriction on how many students you have in your Bitpaper. That's also free. When people say Bitpaper is not free, they're ignoring that Bitpaper is free for students. It's a freemium product. It's not free for the educators because someone has to pay the cost for the whole group, right? So Bitpaper is still free, conditional on being a student or choosing a free account. All your old papers, if you choose not to convert and not to pay, your old papers will continue to function as normal in the whiteboard sense. You won't be able to make calls. You won't be able to create new papers. That's it. And in terms of Terry's question, you can have as many students as you want. The question becomes, how many papers do you need to create a month and how many audio video minutes do you need to create a month? The prices for those are on the website. And as Joanne knows, and anyone who's seen Facebook in the last hour or so, we've also dropped all the prices of those as well. So yeah, I hope you can find something affordable in there, Terry.
Yeah, Susie.
Leo, can you just give a little bit of feedback on this price drop for us? What happened, where it comes from, and
yeah, sure.
Great news, right?
Yeah, we're trying, right? We more people sign up, price comes down, and that can continue ad infinitum. So you know what my call to action is for everyone on this call? Get more people to sign up, right? It's now in everyone's incentive. It's on all of our incentive to grow Bitpaper. That's the message I want to propagate today, and I will deliver on those promises. Those who know me know I'm a man of my word, if nothing else. So in terms of the changes, We've had schools, universities, tutoring companies, large. I mean, you know, my first phone call, the minute we went live, I had a guy in Canada phone me up, a lovely guy. We've, you know, got on super well, about my age, similar position to me. He said, I run one of Canada's biggest tutoring companies. I need like 400 accounts. I don't care the price. I've built my company into this. I'll pay whatever you need. Your prices are completely reasonable. And so with that kind of discussion going on, then we can start to reduce the prices of the individual accounts. Now, Zoom charges for businesses and doesn't charge for individuals. Now, that would be I would love that long-term strategy. I'm not making any promises on that today at all. You can't hold me to that. I didn't mean at all. I mean at all. You can't hold me to that. But, you know, we will try our best to, I mean, you know, if universities sign up, if big educational providers sign up, then we can start reducing the prices for individual accounts. And that will be hopefully the direction of travel over the long term. In terms of the specific changes we've made today, we acknowledge the fact that you know, people wanted more papers, particularly on the lower pricing packages. So we've doubled the papers per month created on the $8 account to 20 from 10. That also,
nice.
we call it the basic account, either with or without calls. We've doubled the paper limit on the monthly paper creation limit on the basic. I think we've added 50% and then 30% on the advanced and pro. That takes you up to like 60 for $20 and takes you up to, I think, 130 for $40. Yeah, I think that's the right numbers. So we've increased all the paper limits for the lower packages. In terms of the, and just to be clear, there's two things here, right? Number one, that paper limit is per month. So if you get 10, 20 a month now, that's 240 a year. That's quite a lot of papers. Number two, if that's not enough for you, okay, $20 a month. If you find that highly unreasonable, I do apologize. Again, there's a cost to operating this, and we're not trying to be unreasonable. We're trying to cover costs, and you know, the marginal cost of these URLs. Effectively, URLs are looking at like 20, 30, 40 cents, depending on how much you buy, right? That's not a huge amount for paper that can basically be reused forever under reasonable use cases, although we are imposing some restrictions on that. I'll talk later. And also, all your past ones are still good to go anyway. So, you know, presumably you've already got loads of papers. The question is, how many papers do you really need? And if you still use it in a way like I do, which requires loads, we'll give you big discounts on that. But we've also imposed, I think, something that is a bit of a game changer for most people, which is now, and this was technically difficult. The reason we did it was not because we're unfair, but it's technically difficult. Now, at the end of each month, so when you pay for your papers, say you pay $10, you get your 20 papers, you get your audio video minutes. Now, if you haven't used them at the end of the month, when you get charged the next month, all of them will roll over that you haven't used. So let's assume you go onto the $20 package, and you go for 3 months during busy season, and you have some left over, and then suddenly in the low season you realize, hang on, I've got 50 saved up papers and 20 saved up articles. You can just put your account right down to free for a month, right? And then you can still use those audio video minutes, and then when you come back to tutoring, you can go, right, $10 again. So you guys will be able to manually adjust your papers and your audio video as you need them in real time without penalty to a large extent. Obviously, it's cheaper the more you buy, and it's more expensive marginally the less you buy, but you can top up, you can cancel, upgrade, downgrade at any time. So, you know, there's a huge amount of flexibility built into the packages themselves. This is
That's amazing.
You'll see the thing. So the third thing we've done, so we've got the cheaper packages, the cheaper papers, we've got the rollover of audio video. We've got, let me just check my screen. So yeah, as I said, student accounts will now be able to save into my papers and create PDFs. So there's way less restrictions on student accounts. They just can't create papers and create calls because that's what costs us money. So if they're not paying, then you know they can't do that. I think though we built in the student account. I'm pretty sure the student account can create one a month. So the student account has a paper it can create a month just to be able to play effectively. We're also looking at trial accounts. We have actually built the mechanism for trial accounts. So, you know, having like a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day free trial on like the basic package, let's say, for new users. We can't go live with that right now, but that's coming. It's built. I can't give a date for that, but we've tested that and played with that. So that will be coming down the line, but not initially for launch. Initially for launch, we need to keep the lights on. So it doesn't make sense giving everyone the ability to go free again. So that will come once we've stabilized in some sense a little bit. And then, you know, just we've run the numbers on all of this. The basic account now covers 77% of all users who've ever used Bitpaper now fall into the basic account. The next 13% all fit into the advanced account. I think 7% or 6% fit into the pro, and like 3 or 4% fit into the power. So, you know, for 80% of people, roughly, they are a basic user, and it's $8 or $10 a month, depending on whether you want audio, video, or calls. The other final one, which is also really important, is that because of the logistical problems created by the enterprise uptake, let me explain to you the main mistake we made administratively when we went live with, despite what you think are our mistakes, what was our mistake that we saw internally when we went live. We were looking at data of user accounts and trying to set cutoffs for pricing packages based on real usage data that looked fair and based on trying to work out people's kind of estimated revenues. And we wanted Bitpaper to be a small percentage, you know, 0.5% maybe of their tutoring or something, like, you know, depending on how much they earn, it's a bit tricky. So we were kind of trying to play with some numbers and play with some models. What we had missed is that because Bitpaper's free, across all those individual user accounts, we thought, well, everyone uses Bitpaper as individuals and companies. We have a few companies that reach out to us and work with Bitpaper and have a few deals and bits and pieces here and there and integrations. What we'd massively underestimated is that in that data, what you can't see is hundreds of companies have based their business operations on Bitpaper around those free accounts. So I got some panicked phone calls on, like, whenever we went live, I think it was Wednesday this week, Thursday, saying, you can't do this. You're going to turn my bit, you know, despite everything that's going on, you're going to be turning my business off on Wednesday. What do we do? You know, we need to fix this. And I said, no, okay, fair enough. So we listened to all of that. I have replied personally, I think, to over 1,000 emails in 3 days. I've worked 16 hours a day nonstop. I mean, Susie has been witnessing quite the stress and strain I've been under, and I apologize for all of, you know, my lack of sense of humor with this. She's had to bear the brunt of it, and that's wrong and bad. It's been phenomenally stressful for everyone, me and Nick in particular, as the frontline people who have to respond and in some sense develop. But what we've been doing then is slowing it all down a bit. Now, there was the original question for us was, can we keep the lights on? The answer to that was the audio video guys have given us a bit of a break, and that's still subject to negotiation, but they're being understanding. They also have said, look, you guys are providing a public function at this point. You're supporting half the world's education. Or, you know what I mean? You're supporting a huge amount of education. We're not bad guys. So that's dealt with, well, for 5 minutes. Then we had the secondary issue of all these companies coming to us and saying, well, hang on. So the main question we had to answer is, if people are not willing to pay for Bitpaper at all, then this thing is all somewhat academic, right? That's it. But now that people are willing to pay and enough enterprises are willing to pay to keep the lights on, now we can, again, look at pricing, and it slows everything down a bit. So what we basically said to the companies is, we can't in any way do, you know, we've had 200 requests for packages ranging from 300 accounts, 500 accounts, 100 accounts, 3 custom accounts for particular users, little companies, big, you know, we have to look at all of that and find a solution for all of them. And we found a solution for loads of them. I think 50 have already agreed to terms, and there's hundreds more in the pipeline, or tens more in the pipeline. So what we're going to work with them is then onboarding them first and just make sure that their operations are continuous, which keeps it free for a bit longer for everyone else. And then we've extended the date for actually changing subscription provisionally. Again, this is evolving situation, is provisionally at least Monday the 6th of April. Right now, there's a few questions that have come in hugely, and let me just run through a couple of the most common ones. They might apply to you. Firstly, what happens for individual accounts when we go live? It's so simple. You know, we guys at Bitpaper try and keep things clean and simple. From the minute we go live, when you first come, you'll all be logged out. That's my one apology. There is going to be, I need to announce this, there's going to be downtime on Bitpaper for about a 3-hour period in the middle of the night for Americans, and for very early in the morning for British people. It's probably like 5 o'clock in the morning our time, maybe like midnight your time. There's going to have to be on Sunday night that day. If we go live that day, there's going to have to be a 2 or 3 hour period for downtime. It is the single biggest change to Bitpaper ever. We've tested it for months, and so it's going to go down. When you come back, you'll have to log in. When you log in, you'll just get presented with a very simple pop-up which says pick a plan. You can pick free, and that's that. You can pick the 8, 10, whatever you want. And then it says enter your billing name, your billing address, and enter your card details into Stripe. We don't handle payment provision. That's dealt with one of the biggest payment providers in the world securely. We're not interested in your credit card details. We can't see them, we can't access them, we can't lose them, we can't share them, we can't store them. So you sign in, put your card in, you're good to go. You get your audio video minutes, and then you're set up on a monthly billing cycle, upgrade, downgrade as you like. So in terms of what the experience for you guys will be, I hope a 2-minute experience, so completely painless, which shouldn't hold anything up or hold classes up. That's been the most common question. Second most common question is the website in US dollars, Canadian dollars, or Aussie dollars? It's American dollars. The third question has been largely around which pricing plan fits for me. Well, the plans on the website are designed to fit for most people. If people have, again, specific business needs, we've been dealing with those. Some people have 3 accounts, a master account, 100 accounts, whatever. So we're dealing with those. And so, yeah, no, I'm happy to answer all questions you might have. I think we've dealt with the vast majority of them in the FAQs, the website. I have a very gentle ask for people not to spam us on email if they have kind of unnecessary stuff, just because we can't, we're struggling to deal with it. But, this is a good forum, I think, to answer all of your personal questions, and I'm more than willing to do so.
Yeah. So if somebody were to sign up for a plan today and then the price goes down, how will that affect their subscription?
So, well, yeah, I mean, you can't, that's the other most common question is, where do I actually pay? You can't yet because the plans haven't gone live. So from when they do, then you'll be able to pay. At the moment, it's just, you can see the prices, you can't sign up for the plan. In terms of that, sorry, what was the second part of the question? Just remember.
So if somebody were to sign up, let's say you guys decide to lower the prices because you've gotten some other funding, how will that affect other users who've already signed up on a plan?
Well, it would be, if we did that, if we dropped prices across the board, it would be from the next month, because that's how the billing cycles work. We can't change the month billing cycle. So let's say in the future, if we did say, right, we're dropping the price by X or increasing papers or limits by Y, from a date, the next monthly billing date, that would be implemented. And everyone's billing date is different because it's from the date they signed up. So it would be from the time that they refresh their account the next month. And also, we've tried to be super generous. Like, we're not using 28 days, we're using calendar months. So there's 31 days in a lot of those periods, 30. So, we've tried to not in any way be, kind of cut at the margins and, kind of be gimmicky. No, you pay on the 13th of March, if you pay on the 6th of April, on the 6th of every month for the next 12 months, you'll get charged. You want to cancel, you can cancel the next day. You'll have your audio video minutes, but you won't get them refreshed on the 13th of the next month. Do you see what I mean?
Yep.
If you upgrade, so the way upgrading and downgrading works, let's say you bought a $10 package today, right? On Monday the 6th, and you used all of the audio video, but only half the papers. Then you go, whoa, I've massively underestimated my usage. I do actually need the $20. You can instantaneously buy the $20. The remaining papers will get added to your $20. And from that period on, you'll be paying $20 a month, right? If you then get ahead on your audio video, you can say, right, I'm going to change that down. And on your next billing cycle, you'll keep your audio video and your papers. And from the next billing cycle, it will go down to 10 again, etc. Right? I hope it will be super friendly, super user super friendly, and super reasonable under most operating conditions.
And it might, and people might start rethinking like how they use the papers. Like, do you need to create a paper for every single session for every single student, right? Like, I can reuse the same link, the same paper with the same student for the entire month if I wanted to, right?
There's people who use Bitpaper in weird and wonderful ways that we never designed. Our original idea in architectural sense was that a Bitpaper would be like a scrap paper. You'd use it, you'd make your notes, you'd throw it away if it was really good, or you could save it. We also, as you well know, you can create effectively templates, right? You can make your lesson plan. You can then duplicate it and send those to students, and it creates a new branch of the Bitpaper. If I explained to you architecturally how that works, you'd be amazed. It's seriously clever in terms of how a Bitpaper is a tree and it branches off, but it's always linked back to the original Bitpaper. It's really, really clever stuff. But anyway, all your Bitpapers that you duplicate and make, they're still linked to the original paper via their events. It's weird. It's like Bitcoin. It's literally in that direction of like the way it branches and spikes off. So the original way we designed it was papers would be fairly throwaway. But actually what we've been seeing in the last few days from discussions we've been having with people is that huge numbers of people actually have all the papers they already need. Actually, one of the big problems we've had a little bit from a commercial point of view is them going, I don't need any more papers. I've got loads. Thanks. AV, that's expensive. But, here's Vonage's pricing. You can see what I'm paying and you can do your calculation. So we try to be transparent in that sense, but no, that's the point. We're not trying to, we had this conversation, and Nick, who is this is his biggest concern, I think, is we don't want to restrict people's paper usage particularly. And if you see what I mean, we want to at least cover the costs of the papers, but hopefully everyone should have enough under reasonable use cases that they roll over, that they've got their past ones, that they've got new ones, that they can be disposable if you want them to be. We don't want necessarily everyone to hoard bit papers and just say, all right, well, I'm going to the free, obviously I'm going to the free plan and I'm not buying any more papers. I'm going to reuse my papers forever. I will give you all one piece of warning advice on that though. The way Bitpaper works is every single paper stores the entire history of everything you've ever done on it. You might have noticed that if you press undo, you can restore the paper to its very original state, even if it's 10 years old, 10 years, 3 years old. So, it stores everything on it. Bitpaper's problems in terms of scaling are not related to how big an image you put on the board, or that can slow it down under certain operating conditions. It's actually just how many times you write on it. Every time you write on it, 1, 2, 3, it's storing those events as a vector effectively. Now, we've seen people that have created papers with millions of events on them. Now, that under those kind of and that means they've reused a single paper maybe for 4 years, 5 years, right? Or they've got a game on it, or they've used it, they've created the paper in a way that needs that kind of usage. The problem is over a long period of time, papers get so big that they can corrupt in your browser. Your browser can no longer load them effectively. It's extremely rare. It can happen. And when we made all those architectural fixes last week, we actually fixed, I think, 90% of those problems as well. We've massively scaled up Bitpaper's power in terms of processing those. But yeah, the idea, probably in the not very distant future, we're going to have to pose a limit, which is that you can interact with it a certain amount of times, and then it will say, hey, warning, you've got 5% left, and then beyond a certain point it will stop accepting new commands, and you'll have to duplicate it and go again, right? You're sort of saying, so you then take the paper, duplicate it, and go again with that one. But yeah, that is almost certainly going to have to come, because it's creating administrative problems and upsetting users when they say, I've got a 5-year-old paper, it's broken. There are some limits to Bitpaper, not many limits, but there are some limits to the capability of a computer effectively. So
yeah. And Kim, and I think this kind of answers Kim's question, because she said if you had extra papers roll over to your paid account, but then next month you drop down to a free account, do those papers get saved until you go back to paying for an account?
Yeah 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100%. So as again, we're going live with the biggest change to Bitpaper ever. I don't think there's going to be teething problems. We're pretty good at not having teething problems, but it's tech. So as far as I understand the way we designed it, you pay $10 this month, you cancel your subscription instantly. You've got those papers and minutes for a year if you want them, if that's how you're going to use it. I wouldn't invite everyone to do that. And if we find, the pushback on that is if everyone is just abusing Bitpaper, then we will either have to have words with them about their account usage. You know what I mean? If people are literally just abusing it in a way that's destabilizing in some sense, then we might have to readdress that. But in its current format, we want everyone to be fair and honest and open. And I'll be honest, for most people, $10 a month, I apologize if this is upsetting to anyone, to most people, $10 a month is not much money. It's a couple of cups of coffee, right?
From a tutoring perspective, right?
These people every single person on this call is running a business, whether or not they realize it. They are an enterprise. They are one man, or in some cases, small man or woman, enterprise. And so, invest in your company, seriously. How do we grow successful companies as Bitpaper and the profs and Joanna's company? How do we grow these companies? Because we invested in our companies. Time is a big part of it, but money is a big part of it. You've got a lovely pair of headphones there, Joanna. You've got a wonderful computer. You've got, I have no doubt, an enterprise pro version of Zoom, right? So, this is one thing that really frustrates us a little bit and I say this not as a Bitpaper owner, because I haven't seen yet, but one thing that frustrates us as a company that runs tutors, I don't know if you know, but 1,000 tutors work monthly, roughly 700, 1,000 tutors work for my tutor company every month. You have tutors who invest and are pros and they benefit from that. And you have tutors that sort of really scrimp at the margins over pennies and pounds, and then complain their students scrimp at their pennies and pounds. And the whole thing becomes a bit self-perpetuating. a wise man and a very wealthy man once said to me, if you spend all your time worrying about pennies, you don't have time to make pounds, roughly. And I think you have to invest and take pride in your business. If you're an online tutor, go and buy the best laptop you can afford. And if you can't afford an amazing laptop, get the best one you can afford. And when you've got the money, buy an even better one.
Yes.
Buy the best headsets you can afford. But this is your product. Take pride in it. Take professional pride in your business. Invest in it. It will never amount to a professional business if you don't invest.
Right. I'm so there with you with all of this. I've had people that, I know that you guys have gotten some flack on social media, and I do as well, because I charge to be able to coach tutors and how to set up their business. And people don't realize that in my own education, I have spent between $20,000 and $30,000 to be able to learn everything that I have learned, to be able to do it the way that I'm able to do it. And I never charge that amount for tutors to work with me one-on-one. But sometimes there are small pieces of money that, in order for me to continue to do what I do and to be able to serve, there has to be the other side of it, where it's like, okay, I have to keep the lights on here too. You can't expect everybody to do everything for free for you, right?
Oh, I mean, some people do, but they don't get very far with that mentality, is my experience.
No, they do not. They do not.
This is, as a business owner and runner, the last thing I think about is my costs. The first thing I think about is my revenues, and my revenues are generated by investment, not by penny pinching, effectively. Yes, when times are hard, you all need to and times are going to be hard going forward. We all need to wind our belts in. We all need to look at essential costs versus non-essential costs and luxuries and all the rest of it. But under modest operating conditions, if you make your money online tutoring, you need to invest in your online tutoring. Otherwise, you're not going to be a very good tutor.
Yeah, absolutely. Elizabeth.
I just wanted to bring up a really good point that Will Hall is making in the Ultimate Support Group. He's saying that first of all, I wanted to, for everybody here at Bitpaper, you guys are getting a lot of love in the comments, so go back and check those later, because you guys are just getting a lot of support, which is awesome to see. You have a lot of fans in our tutoring group, so it's awesome. But also some people are saying, these are tax deductible costs for a lot of people, and also for a lot of people, if this kind of costs, I'm not just talking about Bitpaper, but these types of costs are a concern, then you might need to look at your tutoring rates. Like you can
100%.
You can definitely think about raising your rates to kind of put that cost not onto you, but if it's really a concern, you can kind of transfer that cost. So that was Will's comment, that you can kind of transfer that cost.
There is a group of people, though. We're not just talking about money. There is a group of people who do mentoring and tutoring for free, right? For good causes. This is a separate use case. Now, me personally, I've had I'll read out one of the emails for you. I probably can't use that kind of language on this call that I was sent this week. The guy apologized profusely shortly afterwards, once I replied with my email signature and told him in very calm terms why I thought he needed to change his behavior and mentality somewhat. I supported this year 20, and this coming year 50 extraordinarily poor students through Cambridge applications to get into Cambridge and top UK universities, right? I provide free technology. No, it's not Bitpaper, it's another online tutoring company I have, but we gave them entirely free enterprise level software for a tutoring company that mentors poor children into university in the UK. I am all for supporting charitable endeavors where the end user is the educator's not getting paid, right?
Absolutely.
And I've had emails, very kind and calm emails, the sort of people that say to me, I think you're disgusting. How the hell can you profit off the coronavirus? I tutor poor children for free, and now you're cutting off that access to them. That email is not going to get you very far, and it's not going to get the children very far, unfortunately, because you're acting as a barrier to entry to them. Whereas I've had some lovely emails saying, please understand my situation. I had one from the guy, some department of actually the Federal Bureau of Education in America, something to do with the Department of Education Measures. He said, we're an offshoot of that, and we do this thing. We've actually got really high usage. Now, can we talk? I'm going to talk to him about that. In his case, it was a bit extreme, because it was like, hey, can you put like 4,000 hours of free calls down down your platform a month. So, we have to probably look at usage a little bit. But, I have one or two individuals saying, please, 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 I'm in India and I tutor project. I've had a lot of heart-rending stories this week, and I've said to them all, look, fear not. There are things I can do and mechanisms I can pull for use cases you like girls. This doesn't invite, bandits to then say, hey, I need a free account because I don't want to pay. No, then in those cases where we have a very clearly defined user with a very clear proposition that is clearly provable in some sense, I'm going to be considering what we do about charitable endeavors. Now, the problem is again, I have to keep the lights on. I can't help charities if I can't help myself. Back to Joanne's point that how can you help anyone if you can't help yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And, I would love, there are some people out there and to the haters, whatever, that's up to you. But the reality is I don't get the luxury, and my wife doesn't get the luxury, and Joanna doesn't get the luxury, the people I'm talking about that I know best on this call with business interests, of being selfish, right? I have to think about my family, my family. Then I have to think about my staff, my 1,000 tutors, my 100,000 Bitpaper users. The decisions I get can't be personally motivated. They have too big an effect on people. There are a lot of people out there who just, you've seen those videos where sounds rude and I apologize, but I'm going to have a go at the haters because I'm going to look at your Bitpaper accounts as well, some of you. A few people apologized pretty quickly when I said they're violating our terms of service by abusing my staff and they're going to lose access to their account. But the reality is yes, when you take something away from someone, they feel that aggrieved. That's true, right? But in this case, if I've taken something away from you and you feel aggrieved because you are for a good cause, just talk to me in a rational human way. We're not bad guys. We'll listen, right? If you have a compelling story and narrative, it's not, I'm a tutor in New York City and I don't feel I should pay and I don't want to pay. It's, I've had one guy who said to me, as an example, look, please, I'm having a really difficult time. My wife's been diagnosed with cancer. We can't leave. I've lost all of my income. I need some wiggle room on the pricing. I'm happy to pay, but I can't afford those rates for X, Y, and Z reason. And we said, look, what we're going to do, once I get the corporates on board, that takes the pressure off the lights going off. Once I then get the individual users on board who are willing and happy to pay and can afford to pay and understand the value, then we've got a pool, right? And then we can work out as a team how to allocate that pool on a needs-wants basis for those accounts that need it most. I want, as an educator, to support educators. That has always been my modus operandi. That has always been my driving force in doing this. If that wasn't true, I wouldn't have given it to you for free for 5 years, right? But within that, I need to have a somewhat hierarchical approach to, keeping the lights on, getting those that can afford to pay more, getting those that can afford to pay less, and having a somewhat progressive system, right? We're all for that. We're not going to turn off users who have legitimate good needs. So we've given everyone a bit of a stay of execution to the 6th of April anyway. And all those users, I invite you in a calm and respectful capacity to contact us. And in a calm and respectful capacity, we can address your needs.
Right.
Any other combination is not going to get you very far.
It really isn't. And so this is just, you guys, if you don't have Grammarly installed on your computer, install it, because you can automatically see when you type something, how will it be received by the person who's going to get it, okay? And this is huge because a lot of times we don't realize how we're coming on off. But Grammarly will actually give you an icon that will show a big red face if you're coming off as angry. It will show you if you're coming off as it'll show 2 hands if it seems like it's very complimentary. And that'll give you a good idea of how are you going to be interpreted. I do think that we have, at least in America, I don't know if it's like that in the UK, but in America, we have this everybody owes me kind of mentality. And honestly, nobody owes you anything.
I think globally, but
and nobody owes us. Nobody owes you anything. And we have to be grateful and show that gratitude to people that are putting amazing tools in place for us to be able to work online.
You get further in life. If you storm and try and, there are situations where you have to sort of put your foot down. That is a necessary life skill in business, in families, in relationships, but the way you communicate and the way you carry yourself. And, I wonder how some of the things that I've seen from educators, how that translates into their education. Because if they're treating us in some sense like that, how is that? What are they treating the children like? How are they coming across to the parents of their clients? Be affable, humble, and smart, and you'll get a long way. trying to bulldoze your way through people and scream and shout and bully and hope that you get heard the loudest is generally not a great approach. It can be useful. It can be useful. I've seen it well applied, but you know, as a rule of thumb, I'm sorry, this is not great for me. But you know, calling someone deplorable, disgusting, I've been told to die of cancer.
Okay.
This, you know?
I think maybe it would be good as well for us to put some light into the very good stuff that we're receiving, right?
Yeah.
I think those are really the minority. And to be honest, we're all grown ups. We're business people. I mean, thick skin. Let's focus on the great people that are like, I'm so happy because for all these years, we've been putting our hearts into this and there's so many people supporting.
Yeah.
And the product is just getting better and better. On a personal level, I've been extremely surprised by all the companies, primarily from the US. I mean, the world has gone completely viral on Bitpaper all over the world. And you will know we never spent a penny in marketing. So it's really incredible to be receiving these emails now from universities, schools, tutors, like so far away and being like, we love Bitpaper, we want to pay for this, we want to do this. It's extremely positive. So I'd rather like really focus on that, right? And it shows that we're doing a good job. And yeah, there is very little risk of anything of Bitpaper not working because those people alone, I mean, would mean that we can keep this going and we're extremely happy. And I think what Leo meant is that we, in the future, we're going to be translating all those earnings from those guys into the individual tutors and students and everything. I think Bitpaper has been like this from the very early stage and 100% transparency, right? So that's going to happen. You just need to continue to believe. And, you know, if you like the product, keep using the product. If you don't, you know, it's okay. We have enough users out there and things are very good right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the beautiful thing about all of this is that it's if I know that there's some people they're starting to take a look at other tools and that kind of thing. And if you find a tool, like I'm all about finding the right tool to do what the job you need to get done. Okay. So some people ask me, what do you think is the best tool for this? And Bitpaper isn't always my right answer to it for what they want to do. So we have to take a look at what do you want to be able to accomplish and what tool is going to be the best to accomplish that. And a lot of times Bitpaper is the best tool to use. And so if that's the case and you're finding inside of your tutoring business that that's the case, then continue obviously supporting Bitpaper.
I've sent tens, if not hundreds of emails saying, no, that makes sense in your use case, use Zoom. Like, fine. Like, that's great. If you found a better whiteboard that works better for your needs, cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Zoom whiteboard's not going to get you very far, you guys. So I'm just going to tell you that right now. If you think that Zoom whiteboard is going to, you might as well just use the annotate feature on whatever it is that you're using, okay? Because that's all it is. It is just a blank screen that you're annotating on. That's it. You won't be able to save it. I think you might be able to save it, but there are no tools on there for you to be able to do anything. It is
what
very
do
basic.
is integrate Bitpaper in Zoom, and we're good to go.
There we go.
I've started that discussion like 2 or 3 years ago. Like Leon, I know Eric on a personal basis. He's a super humble guy. He's from China. I went to visit him in Silicon Valley, and he was super like helpful. He loved Bitpaper, but he said, "Well, I don't want to go anywhere near not Bitpaper. I don't want to go anywhere near whiteboards because I had a problem with that at WebEx." Because basically Eric was also one of the first employees of WebEx. So he created Zoom out of WebEx knowledge, right? He was an engineer there. And he said, look, I don't want to do whiteboards. My thing is about the audio and video. So that's what he's up to. But eventually one day, hopefully we're going to integrate.
That would be awesome. Yeah, Elizabeth.
Will Hall had a great question. Again, he says, does Bitpaper have tools for math tutoring? And I know they do because a lot of our math tutors love it. So maybe Leo or anybody else.
Maybe Atul could take this call.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right, Atul.
Okay, I'll jump on it. So the reality is that we know it needs to be way better for maths. And again, back to this point, I want nothing more to do board features, but I keep having to do scalability features and audio video features. So the roadmap for the maths is, yes, very high on the list. We found an amazing maths equation editor, which none of you will have seen before. It's some open source thing that some like professor somewhere in, I think, America has developed, and it's a openware thing. It's amazing. It's so cool. Like, so we want to get that in. We need like indices, right? They're all missing. Like much more better symbol library, better indices, the ability to do subscripts and indices. That's all missing. Maths needs to be our primary focus. I think maths, the core use case of Bitpaper.
Yeah.
Maths.
Yeah, I was just answering some questions on the actual live feed, but like maths is just one of the biggest users, right? Subject users. We have loads of maths people, and I intend to just create a bunch of videos on like the pedagogy, because you can actually use Bitpaper as a tool to teach maths much better. So what my contribution, I think, was I saw Bitpaper originally as it was mostly aimed at university students, and then towards like upper high school calculus type stuff, and I pushed it further and further and further back to like primary education, because I knew those colored dots were absolutely profound. Like you can make big fat dots, you can start moving them around, and that kind of interactivity, the virtual manipulatives, no one's doing that at all, and I kind of adapted it to Bitpaper. So like there's a phenomenal amount of mileage on Bitpaper to tutoring maths at every level, like right from the beginning, like counting, number bonds, or like algebra, calculus, the whole lot. I mean, Bitpaper is an incredibly sophisticated tool for maths, and I intend to, like, that knowledge is kind of locked inside me. And now that we have commercialized and we can free up some of the time that I spend like firefighting on social media and stuff, I can actually provide this knowledge and put it out there. And I'm in a really huge community. I'm in the biggest community of maths teachers in the UK. I'm obsessively meeting maths teachers, and I'm utterly obsessed about teaching maths, particularly online. So I'm learning from them good teaching of maths, and I hope to bring to the table the good teaching and learning of maths online. For me, this is the hour in which we bring this excellence that we have gathered together as a community of online tutors, as online maths tutors, as Bitpaper, as Zoom, everything we've got. Like this, look, this is what we can do. We can do something. I teach online because I disrupted my in-person business in 2016 purposely, because I knew I could teach online much better. I knew the children learned online much better. And this is our time, this is our hour to bring that forward to the world. The world is now listening to us, because under very tragic circumstances this has happened. But it's our turn, it's our opportunity to bring this forward to the world. So for me, maths is the way to do that with Bitpaper, and I hope to put all of that in.
Yeah, 100. And I'd just like to add to that. Yeah, and I think it is. I think now is we were a fringe community. I think we will be seen as pioneers now. I mean, and as we said at the beginning of the call, and like I said, back to your point about these additional features, we have spent the last. It hurts us as product developers. The last release we did of any update of use of immediate and obvious use to you that wasn't under the hood was last, I think, May in 2019. So we've spent like 10, 11 months, something like that, just building, strategizing, executing the user accounts, the ability to have a payment system. Once we get over this road bump, with your investment and your support, I need to bring on additional people, and we need quicker, faster development on. I want Nick to do what he does best, which is the whiteboard. I don't want Nick doing what he is doing out of necessity and because we need it, which is back-end development. I need a back-end developer for that, to do the servers and the APIs and custom integrations. First thing I'm going to do, if this is a commercial success, the first thing I'm going to do is going to hire a genius guy I know who works for another one of my companies on part-time basis to deal with the server stuff. That frees up Nick to do the whiteboard. There are things that infuriate us about the whiteboard. You guys know what they are. The rubbing out over uploaded images, the ability to select little lines and dots, the text tool is rubbish. Like, we're perfectionists, right? We did what we could with our available time, with the tools available to us. We're going to go back and rehaul everything. I don't like the way you select colors. I want the ability to have like 3 or 4 kind of most used colors by the pen button or by the palette button. And then, yes, you've got the full capability. I want the ability to have an equation, add symbols. I want a highlighter pen. We need to zoom in and zoom out, right? There is, we can talk about it very quickly. People may or may not have seen it. Let me pull it up. there are much more than we've kind of just covered here, because we want to improve all of the actual individual features as well as just kind of add new ones, and we know improvements, not just new features. But the most commonly requested by a mile is zoom in, zoom out of a paper. That's coming. That's when we get this road bump out the way, when we get our paying user base, when we're stable financially, then we're going to do this in this order. So ability to zoom in, zoom out is request number 1 by mile. Number 2 is locking, this is not quite the right order, I know them from my head, locking images. So the fixing the eraser, full stop. It's just white paint at the moment. We know that needs to be fixed. We've thought of a really nice way of doing it, and definitely other papers have a much better eraser than us. So we're gonna look at that. We're gonna go away and take the best bits of their boards and put them into our board, and it'll be the best. That's our idea. So we want to start creating a user polls for this stuff. Tell us when we go back to development on the board. Tell us what you want, and we'll do it. And we listen to everything. Performance improvements on my paper. My paper's has got real problems. For people who've got loads of papers, it loads really badly. That's actually super high up on our list. Fixing my papers. The tag system I really like. It's working well. But we need thumbnails that work properly. We need my recent papers is coming. That's already in development. We started actually, we haven't finished. And the ability to paginate that page so it loads quicker. A clear all ability on an individual paper, so you can just go delete everything and it resets it back to 0. That's really necessary, mainly for our server costs. I think there's like 11 million bit papers in circulation or something. There's not a small amount of bit paper. How many trees have we saved? Do you know, we calculated it the other day. I think it's like 250,000 trees. That is a really good marketing tool we've not ever talked about. I think we've saved 250,000 trees. It's a huge amount of trees. I can't remember. Oh, no, 250,000. We calculated it.
Please, I would love to fix the text as well. I would love to fix that.
Text is not right at all, and selecting things that are small is not right. Highlighter pen's coming.
Things, yeah.
No, we know it. Equation editor, protractor, exporting the whole paper to PDF, not just the viewable area. That's actually technically really hard. People don't appreciate that, but it's technically hard. We'd love real-time writing and text editing. The text tool, so that when you type, people see it on their screen. That needs to happen.
Yeah, that's my dream.
That's Susie's dream, right? That's just become priority number 1. Support for smaller screens and mobile devices. The mobile device is actually working. We just didn't quite get around to releasing it. It does actually work perfectly on mobiles. There's just one of the menus is a bit too big. That's really important. Palm rejection on iPads is really important. I don't know if a browser can do it though. If anyone knows the answer to that, tell us. But we need, when you try and write on an iPad, your hand writes, not your pen. So we need palm rejection, it's called. Class recording, APIs. We need to better way of sharing the links, distributing the links. So you click share link instead of maybe just copying and pasting the URL. And we also want to be able to choose who you share it with, a bit like Google Docs, and also have locks on it so that they can't share it and or edit it. So user controls for the students. That's coming as well. So we'll get around to that.
And a lot of that will be enabled as well by having now the more users and the commercialization, right? We can bring more people. Nick no longer needs to be one single man and the ninja of Bitpaper, right?
Yeah, Nick is a full stack developer and a half. I mean, people don't realize that one man built that. Like, with a little bit of help from his friends, one man built that.
But now we can bring some more people to the party and hopefully speed up the features.
Yeah, 100%.
So Kim and you guys just answered, Kim and Unike, who were wondering, like, is there a way for a tutor to lock access to a page after a session so that after the sessions, as I can see the student's pen on the board after the session, like it kind of like locks after their session. I believe you just kind of said, like, yes, there would be a way for you to kind of stop them from being able to do that. Like they can only use it during the session.
100%. I mean, the easiest way to do that in its current format, you can already do that. If you have a template, I mean, again, it depends how you teach, but if you had a template, you can share the template and then they can't have access to the original. Don't forget, there is, as I said to people, undo is infinite. So if they mess up your paper, just hit Z and go back to a point where you're happy with it, and then you're good to go. Every page of every paper is undoable. So no one can
just hit the back button.
Just hold Z.
Right?
Just hold it. I don't know if you've done this, but if you just hold Z, it speed undoes. It's quite cool. It's like rewinding and fast forwarding.
Yeah, it becomes like a movie, so you can see your entire thing like a video. It's super cool when you're actually making a video of your bit papers. It's like
I build animations for my students on it actually. So like dots that moving around, like the projectile path, dot, and then just press Z, and you can see like
Atul, you need to make some videos of some of this stuff, of the really crazy use cases. We'd love to see them.
Yeah, Elaine Francis said, I am so excited about your plans. And I think this is the opportunity that I really wanted to be able to give you guys, is to really hear from the people themselves. A lot of times it's really easy to say negative things about people when you don't know what's going on. And it's really easy for us to criticize or think badly or start looking at other companies when you don't understand the people that are behind a product that is incredible. And
well, the story, you just don't have enough information to make. I understand if people are not happy because they think it's too expensive. But there's legit. We're not disagreeing with pretty much everything that everyone has said. There are completely legitimate concerns. We're reasonable
right.
people. There's very legitimate concerns, and we listen to them and phrase them in a sensible manner, and you probably get them. So that's what we're working. We've taken everything on board. We're working on it. We've already dropped the price today. Again, more people sign up, the lower it comes. I'll make that promise to people to the best of my ability. So, if you work for a university, you work for a school, go and nudge them and say, get a site license. Give these guys $1,000 a month, and I can then drop everyone's price by $1 a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
We'll see. We don't know yet where the chips are going to land. We have no idea whether 100 people, 500, 1,000, 5,000. We just don't know. The enterprise uptake has been way stronger than we imagined. I don't know how many individual licenses we've sold, but it's hundreds for sure. So, that gets us. We had a target. We're already probably halfway there with the corporates. So I need to look. We haven't. It's hard to say because people say and do different things sometimes. But that we haven't even looked at how many individuals are going to sign up. So sign up, trust us, and we'll look after you.
Love it. I love it, Elizabeth.
Let's see. There's a lot of people saying that they're interested in, I believe it was Atul's videos, like his videos of how to use it for math, and also the advanced options that he was talking about. So I just wanted to bring that in. And also I just wanted to say that one of the best things that I see about Bitpaper is that it is run by individuals, that they do care about, their individual customers because they're individuals themselves. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yep.
So
yep.
that's
absolutely
really important.
Yeah.
We started that very early on through social media, Atul and I, like talking to people on a personal basis, chatting on our personal messengers and all of that. And that's because we love it. We really, really, really love what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we really.
And here's a reminder for everybody in the Ultimate Support Group for online tutors is we are all here to support you, okay? That means that everybody in the community that's here needs to support each other as well. I know that there are some people, they come off and they're extremely negative a lot. And unfortunately, we have to have private conversations with them. And we do have to remove those types of people because my goal for our community is that we are supporting each other, that it is not a place to like just spitfire, negative comment after negative comment and like bring people down. No, we can't support each other with that kind of energy. So just so that you guys know, let's always try to build people up and let's not tear people down. We are here to support each other no matter what type of economy that we are in at all times, every situation. And so we always have to remember to be personable and helpful. Think of how you could be of service to other people versus how can people serve me.
Yeah, 100%. Toxicity is contagious. Like I've had this in amongst employees. You can have a company of 10, 20, 30, hundreds. It generalizes. You can have a company of 10 people and you get rid of one who is negative and miserable and toxic, and the company changes when they're gone because the net effect of them on everyone else is huge, right?
Yes.
So I think, it's extremely important. We try. We're all human. We all have bad days. We all say silly things. I'm the least perfect. I'm completely imperfect, as anyone can attest to. But it's about what you strive to be, not necessarily what you do in real time. I think if you're asking for something fundamentally, but which is what you are doing when you're part of community, you're asking to be part of something, then the trick is to try and have a net positive effect. And that compounds fairly well, right?
It does.
And I'm probably a bit less, what's the word, diplomatic than you, Joanne. I really I really abuse the block button on my email. There are a few people whose accounts might be at risk at the moment. I'm not sure how vindictive I'm feeling,
Okay,
but
Leah, let's just
joking. I'm joking.
change the note here.
So, in other words,
your PR
nicer
guys are
you
stepping in, Leo. Your two PR people are stepping in.
You see what I mean? I'm imperfect. Take me away.
Atul and I are the guardians of the community.
We are your PR team.
Yeah.
Stand by, Leo.
Only Joanne who lets me near the clients. No one else, none of my other businesses that let me anywhere near the client-facing side of the business.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I just want to thank all of you guys for joining us. Thank you so much. I'm glad that we were able to give a venue for you guys to share your dream and your passion with us, and what the future looks like and how it affects the people who are using your resources and your tools. You know, I am going to pray over you guys that everything works out exactly the way that you envision it, because I do love the product that you guys have. So thanks for allowing us to share your amazing tool with the world. Unicase says, thank you so much, you guys. You've done a really great job with an amazing tool. So thanks, you guys, for joining us. And if you have additional questions, Atul, a lot of times is inside of the Ultimate Support Group answering questions. So if you got questions, Atul will definitely be able to answer it for you. And Leo and Susie are also in there as well. So definitely, if you've got any questions, we're more than willing to be able to support you with answering those. So thanks, you guys, for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Guys, bye.
Bye-bye.